Welcome! Understanding some of the accommodations required for people with disabilities will help to provide appropriate assistance, accommodate entrepreneurs' unique needs, and meet entrepreneurs' expectations. Forming questions will help ensure your meeting with the entrepreneur is productive. When setting up a meeting, keep in mind the process may involve making accommodations.
Please give consideration to entrepreneurs who use wheelchairs by setting up meetings at least 2 or 3 days in advance so travel arrangements can be made. Use the largest room available for your meeting and remove any obstacles that will make maneuvering a wheelchair difficult. Check the electric doors are working properly and meet the entrepreneur so that you can show them where the elevator is located.
There are a number of strategies that are specific to different forms of disability. Ask in advance if there are any accommodations that can be provided. There is a common perception that accommodations are costly and require extensive planning. This perception is inaccurate since many accommodations do not involve expenses and can follow a simple process. Examples of accommodations can include equipment such as TTY telephone service and video phone, computer screen magnifiers, and modified keyboards. Environmental accommodations can include written instructions, a quiet workspace, an adjusted break schedule or additional work time, color-coded files and binders, and an additional seat for an interpreter or support worker.
Identify yourself and everyone else who is present when meeting with an entrepreneur who is visually impaired. Assist the person with seating arrangement by verbally stating the location and ask if you can guide them to the seat. If the offer is accepted, place his or her hand on the back of the chair. Make sure that mobility aids are beside the person.
I need to have my mobility aids placed close by, so please provide space for mobility aids such as crutches, canes, and wheelchairs. I like it when you have a stationary chair available in case I want to transfer to the chair for the meeting. When talking to me for more than a few minutes, I would prefer if you can sit in a chair.
I try to speak at the appropriate volume and pace. Many individuals are not able to receive all information that is delivered too quickly or quietly. For many individuals, information processing can be difficult if the information is delivered too quickly.
Please remember to provide breaks. Providing breaks has many benefits for individuals who have difficulty processing high volumes of information or have attention deficit disorder. Taking in information is difficult to sustain for long periods. Other conditions may require individuals to eat or use the washroom on a frequent basis. For people with hearing loss or have English as an additional language, straining to discriminate speech sounds or speech read can be tiring. Brief reprieves will result in a more focused, productive meeting.
I like it when you pause when referring to written material to allow time for me to read or look up materials you are referring to before speaking. This practice also ensures that people are receiving both the written and spoken information.
Make sure that you have my attention prior to speaking to me. If you need to, you can tap me lightly on the shoulder to get my attention. Speak directly to me and not to the interpreter. The interpreter will say everything that I'm signing. Just so you know, there might be a slight delay in the interpretation. Lighting is important because we want to make sure that the room is bright enough, that it's not dimly lit, and that we avoid glares making it hard to see.
Whenever possible, try to provide information in multiple formats. People have different learning strengths, visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Providing multiple formats will increase the amount of information that they can absorb and retain.
Ensure that there are no visual barriers, such as centerpieces, overhead equipment, and water bottles. Try to minimize background noise that can cause distractions or make it difficult for me to hear speech. It does not take a high degree of noise to compete with a speaker's voice. Turning pages while speaking and moving chairs are examples of noisemakers. Another type of noise is visual noise. Overloading the environment with visuals or excessive movement can also be distracting. Sources of visual noise include bright clothing, excessive hand movements, posters placed behind you, and walking or turning while you are speaking.
In order to help the entrepreneur identify accommodations, the following dialogue provides examples of questions that will be useful in completing the business plan.
The purpose of our meeting is to help you plan your business idea and identify any accommodations that might need to be made related to your business. If you are able to identify an accommodation that might be necessary and possible solutions, we'll be able to determine if there are any service providers and other resources that we can involve. Let's begin by thinking about a typical business day. What are some daily tasks? Where do these tasks take place? How long will each task take? I have a form here you can use to follow along. What locations will you be accessing regularly? Will you have any difficulty entering, exiting, or moving around in any of these locations?
Oh, good. The bank has desks that is my height, so that won't be a problem. Well, I'm not sure if there are any push-button doors at the mall entrance, though, where Handy Transit dropped me off.
There are some tasks that need to be carried out on a regular basis. Will there be any accommodation necessary for acquiring information?
Yes. I will be using a video phone, sign language interpreting services, and as well, I use the computer to email, and I do texting to enhance communication.
If you have to lift or carry a heavy object, will you be able to do this safely?
Well, it depends on how heavy the object is. I may need to ask for some assistance.
Are there any safety devices you need in your business?
Yes, there are. In the event of a fire alarm, I will need a strobe light in my business.
Is there anything else you can think I should know, or any other questions you have?
Well, what happens if factors that we discussed today change?
We can meet again to determine if there are any adjustments that need to be made.
Here are some scenarios that you might come across and some strategies you can use. Scenario 1. You are meeting a client for the first time. Based on the answers to questions you've been asking and your knowledge of other clients, you think that this individual has a mental health disability, but the client is not giving you any information about their disability. What further steps can you take without asking directly to try to get the client to self-identify?
Ask questions such as, what are your strengths, weaknesses, and where did you go to school? Explain programs that are available and whether or not they would qualify for assistance. Build a relationship that increases clients' comfort level with you. Ask what additional supports they have in place.
Scenario 2. You have been helping a particular client set up their business and you think you have enough supports in place. During a recent meeting with the client, you get the feeling the individual is having difficulty managing their business with their disability. You now have to revisit your initial assessment and you discover the client's disability includes more limitations than the client initially told you about. What would you do differently to try to avoid the situation from occurring again?
Arrange a site visit. Meet the client in their own environment. Ask more open-ended questions. Establish a trusting relationship. Educate. Network with other service providers and community members. Provide training opportunities and mentorship. Monitor and address what you see.
Scenario 3. You have a client who is consistently contacting you by telephone and email, The client even comes to meet you without an appointment, and it is starting to get out of hand. Recently, this has escalated, and this client is now threatening to tell the media how unaccommodating you are being. What are some strategies for handling this situation?
How to make the most of your meeting. Define your role and theirs. Establish a work plan contract. Define boundaries and working relationship parameters. Ensure task completion before each meeting. Be consistent with the client. Plan to refer them to different organizations. Plan to refer them to different employee.
Scenario 4. You have been spending a lot of time and energy assisting a client who you feel are developing a great working relationship with, and you are growing more and more confident that this individual is going to do very well. Together, you have almost completed the business plan, and you have asked the client to work independently on a task and follow up with you in 3 days. A week has now gone by, but your attempts to reach this client have been unsuccessful. You are worried that you are not going to hear from this client again. What do you do?
Continue to contact the client. Initiate friendly conversation. Invite them to meet. Ask if there are any concerns. Refer the client to another staff person. If the client wishes to close the file, respect their wishes.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We hope you found the information helpful and informative.